The clock is ticking for school leaders in New Britain this morning. They only have just a few days to figure out what cuts need to be made to close a nearly $19 million budget gap. Your reporter Anna Stansfield live outside the Board of Ed this morning. Anna, so what's happening tonight?
Well, tonight the Board of Education is going to meet to talk about these potential cuts. But as you mentioned, that deadline is approaching soon. They have until Friday to make a decision. And meanwhile, we're still hearing from community members who are concerned about what these cuts could mean for the district moving forward. This morning, several things are still on the chopping block in New Britain. The superintendent says they're still looking into closing North End Elementary, stopping all middle school sports, and cutting 103 staff positions, including 49 non-tenured teachers. This says the district needs to make up for an $18.9 million budget gap, with New Britain's mayor only willing to give the school system an additional $1 million out of the city's budget. Last night, students and staff came out to raise their concerns. Some of those students in middle school worried about losing their programming.
During the duration of my volleyball season, I built many bonds with staff members, especially the coaches who trained me to the player I am today. Without all the support I got from the staff, I wouldn't be the same confident girl as I am right now.
Now, this comes as the state announced that they will be giving more funding for education to towns and cities across the state. But right now, New Britain is still waiting to hear exactly how much money they'll be receiving. In the meantime, again, the Board of Education will meet here tonight to further discuss these potential cuts. I'm your reporter live in New Britain. Anna Stansfield, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.